welcome to this edition of the Final Percent podcast. And we are going to be hearing from the one and only Hugh Zaretsky. Thank you so much for, now, I guess the question is, am I joining you or are you joining me? Like, I feel like we just kind of showed up at this event together.
At this event? Yes, together.
At this event together. So tell us a little bit about, like, what we're doing here, like, what's going on, and, like, give people a synopsis of that. And then we're going to jump into who the heck is this Hugh Zaretsky guy?
Sure. So at this event, we're here doing understanding our harmonious infrastructure for our business and diving deep, hence the red for the professional in the infinity model. And so as we're diving deep into it, it's better understanding yourself, better understanding your employees, better understanding your customers and other leaders that you want to work with. And one of the biggest things we're discussing is your leadership style.
Yeah.
What type of leader are you? And we have a lot of similar things, and that's also sometimes why we butt heads, and sometimes
never butted heads. Never.
But another one of our business partners, they're running this event at this beautiful place.
Yeah, it really is great. We're definitely going to follow in their footsteps. We're renting this again, this exact spot. It's really that great.
And Brendan will love it because we do play pickleball. We can do all sorts of things.
Brendan, I'm on your team, just to be super clear. That guy's an alien at pickleball.
So, that, and then we're just networking with other business owners, entrepreneurs. We're learning from the wizard here.
Yep.
And so there's lots of opportunities as we move forward and grow and scale.
So let's go through a couple of things, just something more fun. Let's talk about what happened last night.
So last night, fly in, coming from New York. So we're at this networking event, and I've known you long enough to know, like, I see him sitting over there, sort of like, all right, he's done. I can just watch his face. He's like, he's done.
Yep.
Like, hey, he's like, all right, you want to go for a walk? And I was like, sure, let's go for a walk, cat talk. Because even though we work closely together, we haven't seen each other actually in proximity since last year. So it was like the first time really getting together in person this year.
Yep.
And being able to do that. And then we came back, and then it was like, all right, neither one of us was really feeling it after that. So he's like, you want to go work out? It's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we took an Uber back, and then we proceeded to go to the gym. And of course, Greg doesn't just want to do, a 33-minute workout. His 33 is a little different than most. So for all of you in the, Project 33, and then Ela was in town.
Yep.
And so he called another Infinity Club member, and we went over there and we ran the gauntlet. Yep. I don't know if we really ran it because it took us 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave Johnson, for putting that on our radar. But it was definitely a gauntlet.
It was a gauntlet. I won't say we sprinted through it or we ran through it. It was more like we crawled through it.
Yeah, there's no sprinting to gauntlet. Yeah, I was in just as much pain as everyone else.
But what I love about that is we talked about being uncomfortable and growing, and it's just like nobody wanted to quit. Well, yeah,
no one quit.
No one quit. People wanted to quit at different points.
To be clear, I wanted to quit.
We all wanted to quit at one point, being like, "This is just stupid."
Yeah, but
and then we did it, and then we came back here, and it was funny because they were texting us. They were like, it was.
Did you guys go to the club?
Yeah, we're like 10 o'clock, and then we haven't seen you. It's midnight. They're like, "Were you out partying?" And we're like, "No, we were out working."
Yeah, we were working out. We just, one of the things that happened when I went to Vegas with Matt is like anytime we would run up against one of our standards, and it was uncomfortable or inconvenient. We literally look at each other and we'd be like, we either have standards or we don't. So if that's really one of our standards, we just got to go get it done. So let's talk a little bit about just like who you are as a coach, some of the things like that you look for, some of the things that you really like doing, like what lights you up, like, it's interesting because I think you'll definitely agree with me on this one. It seems like everyone and their mom is a coach these days, and let's just be honest, not everyone's cut out for this. Like, you getting your little $25 certificate and then thinking you're the next Tony Robbins is basically what's wrong with the coaching industry. Yeah. You've been in it for how long?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. So what lights you up about coaching? Why do you do it? And, what are some of the things that you help people with, and some of the things that you utilize to get it across the finish line?
Yeah. I think it's actually ingrained in me from my parents. I know you come from a long line of professors and educators and stuff. So I come from 3 generations of teachers.
Yeah.
But I was just really good at math. So they pushed me into IT, and because teachers don't get paid that much. Mm. And then what really lights me up about coaching is holding somebody accountable so that they actually hit their goals and do more than they could as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, I know you see it all the time, but like also you see like the light bulb go off in somebody's brain and they're like, oh my God, I can actually do what I want to do.
Yeah. So good.
Or I can actually be home with my kids because this is where my business got to, or I can hit that goal. And that's what it is. It's that light up of them achieving what they could.
Now, if you hear, I think it's important for everyone who's listening to this podcast, listen to one of the distinctive words that he's using. He's saying actually a lot. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm successful, I make money, or oh, I'm successful, I have time with my kids, oh, I'm this. And like, but are you actually? And so, you know, he's saying he wants to get people across the finish line, like actually, not just, you know, say it so you sound cool at your, you know, social environment or the country club or the bar or whatever. Are you actually happy? You know, I think that that's important. What are some of the, you know, strategies, tactics, like, you know, from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, so we really worked on, and to that point, like the thing that drives me crazy in the coaching industry, especially because like I started out as a real estate coach and now we transitioned into action and business coaching. But everybody and their brother is like, I did one real estate deal, now I'm a real estate coach. Like I did one thing, or I did 5 deals or 10 deals. And it's like, but you've only done it in an up market. You've never participated in a down market. So your strategies don't work, or you don't know how to get people back.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of things in 20 years.
Right. You know, but success, because they did it, oftentimes the people that can do it aren't really good coaches either.
Exactly.
You know, if you look at like the NBA, Michael Jordan, not a good coach. Yeah. Because he's like, I just have this work ethic. I just have this drive. Why doesn't everybody else have it? Exactly. He's like, and you can't coach that, right? Like
he's got a different motor.
Right. And he's like, why doesn't, and he frustrated, why don't they have that? Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. And then 2, it's the people that try and fake it till they make it. And it's like, I've just seen so many people lose money with coaches and like just get run to the cleaners. And the coach is like, well, I didn't do anything. I just told them what to do and they just wouldn't do it. It's like, no, you got to find a way to motivate people.
Yeah.
You got to find what drives them. And so understanding that there's many different ways that people are motivated, and sometimes they don't like the way they're motivated, but you need to push that button to get them there. Like I can be a little, as we're learning at this training, and as you already knew, I can be a little harsh sometimes to get people to move. Like I'll be nice, and then if I need to go mean and you know,
or
smack you around.
He can also. But here's the thing, and I think, you know, just for some of our community members that I know listen to the podcast, that I want, like the reason I really like partnering with you is because I do start off with, you know, a much more, you know, teddy bear approach. And sometimes things will take longer. And so like, you know, one of the things that I talk a lot about is, you know, there is this, you know, in my world, there's 3 distinct types of coaching. And, you know, one of them is an action coach. And you're one of the best action coaches I've ever seen. Like you get people into action. And it's funny because it rubs people the wrong way, just because, you know, a lot of people, like, they want to talk about the theory about doing push-ups and they want to read the book about push-ups. And like you walk in and you're just like, hey, what if we just did some push-ups? And they're like, well, I'm just not ready to do some push-ups. And you're like, yeah, but what if you were? Like, let's just do push-ups right now. Well, no. See what happened? My elbow kind of hurts. Like I this and that. You're just like, no, we're doing push-ups right now. Well, I'll do them later when no one's watching. No, you're going to do them right now. And you've been needed and necessary in the final percent because, you know, a lot of times people are waiting for that nudge. Now, sometimes it's a violent, this is Sparta to the chest from you, which is fine. But the good action coaches are actually much more rare than I think people realize. And what they're actually mad about is they're mad they didn't take action sooner. Because if it was really just easy as like start taking action, then they could have, and they should have done it. Should have, could have, would have themselves. But you know, they're not actually mad at you. They're mad at themselves. And so, you know, we just learned a lot about at this event about triggers. One of the things that I love that my friend Brian Bogert says, he says, you know, your triggers are not your fault, but when you're aware of them, they are your responsibility. And so you gotta, when you meet someone like Hugh and you engage with someone like Hugh, whether it's on business or the mindset or anything like that, be prepared to take some action. Like, you know, there's a reason why, like, I brand him inside the final percent as like our premier action coach, because like you aren't getting out of a coaching session without taking some sort of action.
We gotta leave there with a plan.
Oh yeah.
There was something.
It's going down. And then if you meet with him the next coaching session and you haven't gotten the homework done, he's hanging up on you. Like he's mad, you know what I mean?
Well, and here's the thing. It's always done with good intention. It's to help you get where you want to be. And some people, that rubs them the wrong way.
For sure.
Because it's very direct.
Because they get too emotional about it.
They get very emotional about it, and they think there's a judgment behind what I say.
An attack.
Or an attack. Like, they add something to it versus the action.
Yeah, and he's like, no, literally, I just want you to take action.
Yeah, like, I don't, all the other stuff doesn't matter to me. If we just do these 5 steps, like, it will solve your problem. You can be mad at me. You can... And a lot of people I go through the fire with, and they come out the other side, they're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for pushing me out of my comfort zone. But when we go through the fire, there's a lot of friction there sometimes. Some people are like military people, like police officers, they all get it. They're like, yep, do the action. Oh, and then it's super. It's done.
Yeah.
It's over with.
You know, I just talked about this on the Facebook Live, you know, finding those foxhole people. Because it's easy, like, if, you know, you and I are each making $1 million a day and the leads are pouring in and we have more money than we know, it's really easy to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
But when, you know, you have, you know, whatever the next thing, if it's COVID-49 or whatever comes up, or invented thing, or 2008, whatever the crash is, like, do you have those people that you can go through those things with? And, you know, I recently had a friend go through some stuff, and I responded with, you know, my position is I'm going to have his back regardless. Yeah. It like, he's always had my back. He's always been there for me. So I don't actually care if any of the things that are coming out is true. They turned out not to be. But I said, no, I'm 100% in on this person. And that's just the way it is.
Yep.
Those are the people that you want. It's the people that are like, okay, I have this relationship with Hugh. What are all the contacts and energy and money I can suck out of him? And then he looks like a raisin, and I've sucked everything out of him. And then I'm just on to the next. Let me go find the next grape. Like, you got to be careful of those people. Like, be careful of the vampires. Like, you want to be around the people. Like, I can't tell, like, even last night, when we met at the dinner, like, Hugh, like, cause he knows, like, I don't actually like networking parties. Like, he sees, he really understands me now, but he's just like, hey, do you need some silverware? Hey, like, you left your drink over here. Can I get you, you know, your drink and stuff like that? He's like, still just being a great friend to make sure, like, I'm as comfortable as possible, because he already knows I'm not comfortable.
Well, it's not your group, it's not your mat, right? Yeah, those things. But to Drake's point there, we've both been in the coaching industry a really long time.
Yeah.
And there are people that are just trying to do that, turn you into the raisin. And we both heard different things about each other. Yeah. From different people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's definitely, like, people planting seeds and, like, trying to do these things, and you gotta, like, just blot all that stuff out and just actually meet the person.
Yeah.
And you and I both have very good discerning skills.
For sure.
So, like, what's fake, what's real, who's trying to position, because in the coaching industry and life in general, people are trying to say they're this when they're not. And
when in reality, people just didn't want us to join forces.
Right. Just they knew it would be scary.
Yeah, we're gonna be a problem for sure. So all right, so, like, I always like to, you know, ask, you know, not necessarily softball questions, but, like, I would call them more fun ball questions. So, what is your most embarrassing moment on stage?
Oh,
most embarrassing.
Most embarrassing moment.
Most embarrassing moment, because I love asking this to speakers, especially respected speakers like yourself, because so many people are like, oh, you just get up there and it's always easy and it always works out.
No, like, you know, I'm trying to think the most embarrassing. It's hard to embarrass us.
That's for,
you know, fair. Like, but
or you can go biggest debacle, biggest goose egg, whatever's coming to your mind.
Yeah, so I've had some really interesting experiences. We did one event in Hawaii where, like, a hurricane was coming through. And so it's like, then it's, you know, it's always safety first for the audience. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
It was like, all right, we got to shut this down. Yeah. We got to do that. So that was one interesting experience. I'm also very protective of my other speakers. So I used to speak with...
Can confirm.
Oh, yeah. I'm really protective of just about everybody in my circle. Once you're in the circle,
can confirm.
You're
like,
in the
I
circle.
You guys, like, if you have a chance to, like, just be in his inner circle and, like, be his friend, like, he's got your back. Like, you don't have to worry about Hugh.
I mean, have you taken people out in your basement, been like, hey, you got to come upstairs with me in your basement at a summit with Infinity Club members? I've been like, Greg. And Greg was like, no. And then later he was like, Get him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like this, like 100% happened because he's like, hey, and I'm like, he's just kind of going through some stuff and everything, and then it kept happening, and like I could see Hugh like kind of even like just trying to like hold it together, and I just like we made eye contact, and I just went get him, and it was done. And then we had another event in Wyoming where you did a similar thing. You actually pulled one of the speakers out.
Yeah, I had to pull one.
Do that.
I had to tap the speaker on the shoulder and be like, hey, this is not good for the audience, right?
Yeah.
And so it's always about protecting the audience. It's always about making sure what it is, and sometimes we got to do the hard things, like you said.
Yep, for sure.
And the hard thing was like tapping the speaker and be like, hey, can you just come with me?
Yep.
To allow that to happen.
Yep.
But there was a time in Long Island, since I'm a New Yorker and the woman was from Washington State, and a guy stood up in the audience, and I was in the back of the room, this like really long room, like almost back there, and he stood up to like take control of the room, you know, to like ask her a question like, you're not from New York, whatever. So I just stood up in the back, walked straight to the stage. I'm like, I'm from New York, sit down, like let's like here's the answer.
Yep.
And now back to you, right?
Yep.
And she was just like, so
yeah, protecting her space,
protected the space. But I don't know, there's so many stories.
The hurricane coming in Hawaii, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, the hurricane coming in Hawaii definitely was unique because it was like fire alarms going off. Nobody knows what's going on. We're up on the 7th floor, you know, in Oahu. So right in Waikiki there. And being able to do that and then get people out. But then it's like, okay, do we continue the event?
Yeah, what do we do?
Do we not continue the event? It's a 3-day event. Are we having day 2? Power goes out. Once power goes out, you're like, nope, you know, everybody's out.
Yeah.
They say evacuate the hotel. We evacuate the hotel. But then it passed, and then it was like, do we bring people back together?
Yeah.
Do we not?
Yeah.
So we just sort of left it up to them, and we gave them another event. Like, hey, if you just want to come to another event, come for free. But those of you guys that want, obviously we traveled in 13 hours on a plane to get there. So like, let's do that. But haven't had any like medical emergencies.
Yeah.
Like that's the one that I'm always nervous about.
Yeah.
Fire alarms, all those things, great. But I've presented at some really weird places.
Yeah.
Besides your basement. But we've done like churches. And churches are great if you're of that religion. If you're not, it's really weird coming into that space for like a real estate event or something like that.
Actually, yeah, that's
like it's you know, so like now people are offended just walking into the room.
Yep.
Because they're not of that religion, and so lights have gone out. I mean, everything. That's the one thing as a speaker, you got to be prepared for every problem. Like your tech doesn't work, you got to run I supposed to do 2-day events with another speaker, they don't show up, so you got 3 days.
You got to get to be the king of the vamp. Like things are going down, it's just like just keep going. You're like, all right, I'm just
like keep looking over here.
Yeah,
there's like all sorts of signals going on over there. You know, you're like, no, stay right here. So because it's all about the audience. Like no matter what happens, it's about making sure they get the value.
Yep. So what's your most, if you had to think of, because obviously we talk a lot about transformational coaching, what is your biggest transformational moment that you can think of? This could be, over the last couple of years. This
of myself or a student?
Of you specifically.
So for me, 2 things. I started shaking as soon as you said that. Like we always talked about watching body language and stuff like that, but as soon as he said that, like I started pressing my palm and I started shaking. Right. So one is 9/11.
Oh man.
The things we did and the pictures we took and all of that, and I put a lot of it in the Launch Button book. That was actually really good for me writing that book because it was the first time like I wrote out everything. Now not everything's in the book, but being able to process that.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people that want to write books. I'm like, oftentimes you're not ready to write the book. I started writing that book in 2008. If I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah.
So that wake up call.
By the way, fantastic book. So go get that book for sure. And the audio's book's coming out soon.
We're coming out soon. Yeah. We're going to work on that, right?
Recorded with we're getting that.
Yeah, we got to get the finish line before our May event.
Yes.
Where I was going with that was we often have to go through some sort of trauma so we change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like people want to underplay their traumas, but I think we actually have to recognize them and talk about them.
Yeah.
Because that causes us to change. Like I was making more money than my parents combined. I had stock options in the company. I had the corner office. I had a condo in New York City with the pool on the roof. Like I thought I was golden.
All the things.
Thought I was golden. And then
Yeah.
That happened, and it was like, ooh, I'm really not happy.
Wow.
And I wasn't passionate about IT. I just did it because I was good at math.
All right. Just because I want to know, which means someone else wants to know.
And by the way, military people had it way worse than me, so don't.
There are so many conspiracy theories about 9/11. Do you have any position on those? Because like you were there, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you like saw one of the planes fly into the. So like,
Yeah, both planes flew past our window.
So I mean, all the people who were saying like,
and I was lucky it was a Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. So, what's your position on? Is there a giant conspiracy behind this, or You're like, I know there were planes.
I knew there were planes, and they weren't Cessna, because they flew right past our window. And I will say that this is one thing that was really interesting to me on that day. So it was a day like this, like no cloud. There was less clouds in the sky than this on that day.
Yeah.
And so when the first plane went by, we didn't really see it, but we saw a bunch of people run to the window because our window looked right into the Twin Towers. Like right where that first hole was, that's what we looked into. And my guy, IT guy, Bob, he's from Bangladesh, and everybody was running to the window, and they're like, because nobody saw it, because nobody was looking out the window when the first plane went by, right? Nobody was paying. It was just a normal day. We're working, whatever. And he's like, Hugh, that was a terrorist attack. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean?
Yeah.
This is the U.S. What are you talking about?
Ain't nobody doing that. Nah.
Like, what are you talking about? He goes, look at the sky. And I was like, so I look at the sky. He goes, what? He was just, there's not a cloud in the sky. If that pilot wanted to miss that building, he would have done what Sully did. He would have landed in the river. Like, if he had any control over it, he would have landed in the river. Right? Because there's no way you hit that building unless you're targeting it.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
this wasn't an accident.
This wasn't an accident. That was the first plane when everybody was trying to figure out what it was. So it was like, we were supposed to take down the news server. We were like, all the pictures that went out of it, we were supposed to take that down. It was crashing. So it was like back inside, and it was just like, whatever news needs, we do, we break. And as soon as we break, that's when the second plane flew past our window, right into it. So can I say the building should have come down? I know that's part of the conspiracy theory. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have friends that were in the undercover, and they were running down to the scene with just like bodies laying around them. And I took pictures of the people jumping off the top, 13 of them jumping because their choice was jump or burn. So I don't know.
Man.
It was real for me.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And I did more stupid things than I ever should have for a job. Like, and everybody does it in their own way. They sacrifice their family. They sacrifice different things, thinking the job's going to provide the income, the value, the support that you need. Yeah. And then they might let you go.
Yeah, like you're part of the
it's just a number of things. And I've been that person.
You're a math equation.
I've been that person. I've been the I mean, we were IT, like we knew it before everybody got fired. I would talk to people knowing they were getting fired the next day.
Ugh.
You know, so I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah. So if you had one piece of advice, so the Twin Towers, that was, is it 2002?
2001.
2001. So if you had a piece of advice to go tell 2001 Hugh, what would you before the attack? What is the one piece of advice you would tell yourself?
That's some really deep questions.
See, that's who I am, man.
I mean, I've been through so many interviews, so many podcasts, and you're like, I would just say, go for it sooner.
Mm.
Take the action now.
That's right. You're an action coach. You say
take the action now. It's like, just do it sooner.
I love
because I knew I wasn't passionate at that time. I knew I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. Yeah. It was just easy.
Yeah.
Right? I was just playing the easy game instead of the, like, let's make the world a better place. Let's fulfill the passions. Let's do all those things. My dad used to teach in handicap camps. I saw, like, the inner city, all of the things. I wasn't fully a part of it, but I got to see that. It was like, there's so many things that we could do.
Yeah.
But we always say we're going to do them later. And that later.
We don't always get later.
And we don't always get later. And that was the biggest thing on 9/11. It was like, nope.
It was just instant. Yeah.
Instant.
That's one thing, you know, someone asked me, the other day. They said, Greg, why do I always like? I feel like you're always taking like the hard road, or the road less traveled. And I responded to him. I said, you're assuming that I see two roads. This is just my road. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's not actually easy or hard for me. It's just what I'm supposed to do. I'm living in purpose. And I think that that's the biggest thing. My number one purpose is truly like the community, helping people and building that. And that's why like interfacing with me on money is always such a interesting thing. You're like, can confirm. Because I legitimately, I just don't care about it. Like, I don't, like, it's not the primary function. It's like, how are we serving people? What impact are we making? What's the experience? What seeds are we, I'm always planting seeds. And, I had to find the living in purpose part of life. And, that's why like friendships like this are just so fun, because it's like, we can push each other to find another level of the purpose, if you will.
What's up, boys?
Hey, Cameron. Yeah, this is gonna be another guy on the podcast here soon. Brandon,
can we podcast?
Yeah, heck yeah, dude.
Greg's gonna be on my podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna do an A and B. We're gonna do cross pollination, just so you guys know. We'll teach you what that is later, because he's a literal genius at business. So, also, I love him more.
Thanks for leaving me out, Brandon.
Hey, it's my podcast.
But so to this point about Greg though, like his passion for the event and the stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, because you may or may not run events and you've been to certain events like the changing of the colors and things like that. I'm like, come on, let's just, you're like, no, we got to set the stage, we got to do all that. So it's great having different perspectives.
Yeah.
And what most people don't realize is how much goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So you may not be getting the response you want from him, and we got to build in a little bit of architecture. So he's like, I was just doing this with Lloyd. It's like, ask three people. I used to have a rule, ask three people, then Hugh, and I had 700 people on my team. Like, we're gonna have to start doing that with you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll ask two people before you ask Greg, so that Greg can do great things.
Yeah.
Right? And put him in a zone of genius. Yeah. So that he can do the things that really move the group and move the needle. But the amount of detail, buying their own lights, buying their own truss system, I don't even think Aspire does that.
No.
Like, so you're talking about if you look at like the Aspire tour that was huge, going into Madison Square Garden, all those things, they're not buying their own colors, their lighting system, their truss system, like all of those things, right? They're just going in and using whatever the venue has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but you're so passionate about that, you actually invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. I don't even want to know the final number, right? But like,
I went the final percent.
Yeah, he definitely went the final percent on that. And it's like all of that, so he could take it wherever we do an event.
Yeah, yeah, and going down to the intentionality that I think is important to understand. We have the infinity model that we associate with colors. He just talked about changing the colors of the room based on what we're at. At the beginning of the podcast, if you listen to what he said, he's wearing red because he does a lot of stuff in the professional thing. We have a levels of consciousness, or the infinity spectrum, infinity prism. We've got a bunch of different names for it. But, the entrepreneur mode is red, and red means build. So he's helping you build something, build a new life, move things. But like, to put this into perspective, like you look at his shoes and he's got red. Like, there's intentionality that happens that I just don't think that people are fully aware of. Like, when you get people in the room like us, like we're setting the stage, like he's setting the stage for all these people who potentially come to, the New York event, which we're going to talk about here in a second, so that they understand that, he's going to come in, and if we're going into red mode, which is build, entrepreneurship, professional, different things like that, like he's going to be known as like Captain Red, and he's setting it up. It's part of hypnosis, part of mentalism, part of psychology, part of NLP, setting it up so that you can understand how to interface with him on what's going on. I happen to be wearing purple. Purple is the personal color because I'm always in mindset. I love it so much. And so, that's kind of some of the things that we do behind the scenes on the intentionality, so that you can understand why the little things are actually the big things when you step back. Some things that we want to talk about, number one, if you haven't yet, download the app. You get 3 calls with this guy a week which, our app has 200 hours of training on it. It's going to have extra courses from him. It's got wonderful community. If all you got was just the 3 calls per week with this guy, it's worth $300 a month. For $33 a month right now, and if you sign up right now, you can get grandfathered in. You get those calls, you get the training, you get discounts off of things that we do in the live events. So I want you to pay attention to the app. It's the TFP Connect on Android and iOS. So if you're listening to this, go download it right now.
And that app is free, by the way.
And yeah, and
that's free. You get lots of free training in there.
Yeah.
If you just want that to get to know us.
Yeah.
better.
So you get, if you want to kick the tires on what we're doing, you get access to the TFP feed. So you can kind of see what we're talking about. You get access to Project 33, which is helping you have consistent daily actions. The First Percent series, so that you can kind of see what we're all about. And then we've got my birthday event coming up.
Yeah, definitely going to be there.
April 17th, 18th, and 19th. The event is 18th and 19th. If you want to be a part of the VIP dinner on the 17th, go check out our website and check that out. And then we're going on a cruise, which is already sold out and full. We're taking 70 people on a freaking cruise ship with us. That's how incredible our community is. And then when we get off and this is for Richard, when we get off the boat, he gets mad at me because he's like, it's a ship, boats fit on ships. And so I was like, that's fine. It's a boat. So when we get off the boat, we're going to be headed to New York. That's the 17th and 18th and 19th, or
The 16th, 17th, 18th of May.
16th, 17th, and 18th of May. It's going to be in New York. Here's what I can tell you about Hugh. One of the things that kind of made our relationship go the final percent is he straight up, met me at the airport, had an energy drink for me, had a protein bar for me, and he went the final percent for me, and then proceeded to show me around New York in a way that I didn't even, there's no way I would have had the experience if I didn't have him. And knowing that this is going to be the person behind our New York event, I'm promising you it's going to be extraordinarily special. So if you can, I'd love for you to put those 2 live events on your calendar. If you're on the East Coast, make sure that you sign up for that event just as fast as you possibly can, because it's going to be super, super special. If you had one, thing to leave them with, what do we want to tell them? What do you want them
Towards New York or towards
anything? What's on a dominant thought that you want to just make sure that they have?
Yeah, so we talked about consistent daily action. We didn't talk a lot about on this podcast, but taking every day, you either take a step towards your goals or away from your goals. And the fastest way to really step towards your goals is to immerse yourself in a community, get to one of the live events, get plugged in and just see it.
Yeah.
Because when you're in person with us for 3 days, whether that's one of the events Greg talks about, or even later in the year, when you're watching this podcast, is get there, because it can be life-changing.
Yeah.
Jim Dowd, NHL Stanley Cup champion, said this: it only takes one person to change your life.
Yeah.
And that can happen just in one day at one event.
Yeah.
And they just need to believe in you, and you believe in them, and you can go make it happen. And I've seen that over and over, and you've seen that. You've helped people, and even just people meeting people, their lives have changed just like that. So get to a live event, because Zoom just doesn't do it.
No, you got to have that, that camaraderie, and there's this, palpable sense of transformation and possibility and opportunity when you walk into a room like that. And, it's what we live for. It's what we bet all of our time, energy, money, stress on. And we would love the opportunity to meet you, to serve you, to love on you, and to show you what it is, what the final percent is all about, and what transformation really can do for your life. So, and I'll just end here, P.S. Buy his book, because I'll tell you, it is already changed so many members, the final percent members, whether you're at our highest level in the Infinity Club, or, just someone who's kicking the tires on our Facebook group, which is the Final Percent Network. If you want to join our Facebook group, again, completely free. But so many people literally join that Facebook group and just go in there. There's over 1,000 people in there, and just say, hey, what do you think of Hugh's book, The Launch Button? I'm telling you right now, countless people are going to say, and they will all come up with different nuggets. This part changed my life. This part changed my life. You're one book away from changing your life. You're one conversation away from changing your life. You're one relationship away from changing your life. You're one moment away from changing your life. It's the decisions that you're making and the beliefs that you're taking. So you are that decision away from changing your life. Are you willing to make that decision? And if it starts with, a book, I'll tell you right now, if you hear this, if you DM me, launch button 33, if you DM me launch button 33 on either Facebook or Instagram, I will buy you a copy of the book and I will send it to you to the first 33 people who do that. So if you listened all the way to the end and you went the final percent, launch button 33, you DM that to me. I'm going to get your address and we're going to get you a copy and we'll make sure that he signs it for you. So thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you.
Appreciate you. All right.
Let's have some fun.